The Last Ascendant Part 1. The Choosing. The world changed the year the children started dying. No one said it that way anymore. The government called it the Ascension Program, a miracle of science, a gift for humanity. At least that was what the screen said. The truth was simpler. Every child on Earth was injected with a serum at 13 years old. Half of them died. The ones who survived woke up with powers. Some could move objects with their minds. Some could run faster than machines. Some could control fire, lightning, or gravity. And some received powers so weak they were barely worth mentioning. But power meant everything. Your job, your status, your entire life, which meant the day of the injection was the most important day a person would ever live, or the last. Rain hammered the metal roof of the testing facility. Inside, rows of 13-year-olds sat in metal chairs, waiting. No one talked much. Some stared at the floor. Some prayed. Others tried not to cry. At the back row sat a boy named Kael Renn. His hands were clasped together so tightly his fingers hurt. Across from him sat a girl with silver-braided hair and sharp eyes. Lyra Voss. She noticed his shaking hands. "You look like you're about to pass out," she said. Kael tried to laugh. "I might." She leaned back in her chair. "Relax. Worst case scenario, you die." Kael stared at her. "That's supposed to help?" She shrugged. "If it doesn't kill you, you'll get powers." He glanced toward the steel doors at the far end of the hall. Every few minutes, one opened. A kid walked inside. 30 seconds later, one of two things happened. Either they walked back out changed, or they didn't walk out at all. At that moment, a door slid open. Two medics rolled a stretcher into the hallway, covered by a sheet. Everyone looked away. The loudspeaker crackled. "Candidate 124. Kael froze. That was him. Lyra nudged his boot. "Well," she said, "time to see what kind of legend you become." He stood slowly. Every step toward the chamber felt heavier. Inside the room waited a metal chair and a machine holding a long injector filled with dark liquid. The doctor barely looked up. "Sit." Kael sat. Metal restraints locked around his wrists. The injector descended. The doctor tapped on a screen. "This activates dormant genes," he said. "What happens if they don't activate?" The doctor finally looked at him. "You die." Kael swallowed. The needle plunged into his neck. Fire erupted through his body. He screamed. His muscles locked. His vision shattered into darkness. Then suddenly, he was standing somewhere else. A massive stone platform floated in endless night. Wind roared around him. A towering figure formed from shadow ahead. Its eyes burned like dying stars. "At last," the voice said. Kael stepped back. "What is this?" The figure moved closer. "You are the vessel." "For what?" The creature pointed toward his chest. Something ancient, something forgotten. A blazing spiral symbol appeared in the darkness. "The world forgot our power. But you will remind them." Kael tried to speak, but the symbol exploded with light. Then everything vanished. Kael woke up screaming. The metal restraints shattered. Machines around him sparked and died. The doctor stumbled backward. "What did you do?" Kael looked down at his hands. Energy flickered across his skin. Alarms began blaring across the facility. A voice echoed through the speakers. "Energy spike detected. Level 7. The doctor turned pale. "That's impossible." Guards rushed down the hallway outside. Technicians stared at monitors filled with impossible readings. The commander grabbed his rifle. "Seal the building." Back inside the chamber, Kael felt something awakening deep inside him. Something ancient. Something powerful. The doctor whispered slowly. "Boy." Kael looked up. "You have no idea what you've become." End of Part 1. The Last Ascendant Part 2. The awakening sirens echoed through the testing facility. Doors slammed shut throughout the building. Kael stood in the center of the injection chamber, surrounded by broken machines. Energy pulsed through him in waves. He felt stronger, sharper, like his mind had suddenly become larger. The doctor stared at the readings on his tablet. This shouldn't be possible. What does it mean? Kael asked. The doctor hesitated. It means your power level exceeds every recorded ascendant in the last 300 years. Kael blinked. That's bad? Before the doctor could answer, the door burst open. 3 armed guards stormed inside. Step away from the subject, one shouted. Kael raised his hands instinctively. I didn't do anything. The guard aimed his rifle. On your knees. Something inside Kael reacted. The moment the guard pulled the trigger, time slowed. The bullet crawled through the air. Kael stared at it in disbelief. Then the bullet simply stopped, floating inches from his chest. Everyone froze. The guards stared at the unmoving bullet. Kael stared at his hand. He hadn't even meant to do it. The bullet dropped to the floor. The guards backed away slowly. One whispered into his radio. We need command down here now. Elsewhere in the facility, Lyra sat up suddenly in the waiting hall. The lights flickered violently. She frowned. What the hell was that? Then the alarms began. Across the compound, armored vehicles rolled toward the building, because somewhere deep in the command center, old files had just reopened. Files that hadn't been accessed in centuries. One name appeared repeatedly. The Ascendants. Back in the chamber, the commander finally arrived. A tall man with cold eyes. He studied Kael carefully. Release the restraints. They're already broken, the doctor said quietly. The commander turned toward Kael. Come with me. Kael hesitated, then followed. As they walked through the facility, people stared. Some in awe, some in fear. The commander finally spoke. Do you know what an ascendant is? Kael shook his head. The commander nodded slowly. They were the first superhumans, the strongest. What happened to them? They vanished. The commander stopped walking. But now one of them has returned. He looked directly at Kael, and the world is about to become very dangerous again. End of Part 2. The Last Ascendant Part 3. The Secret Archives. The commander led Kael through 3 security checkpoints. Each door required a different code. Each hallway grew darker, more guarded, more secret. Kael finally spoke. Where are we going? The commander did not look back. Somewhere very few people have ever been. They reached a final steel door. 2 soldiers stepped aside as the commander entered a long security code. The door opened slowly. Beyond it lay a massive underground archive. Thousands of data terminals lined the walls. Ancient documents, holographic records, and something else. Statues. Tall stone figures carved into the shapes of warriors. Kael felt something strange when he looked at them. A deep familiarity. The commander noticed. You feel it, don't you? Kael nodded slowly. Who are they? The commander folded his arms. The first Ascendants. Kael stepped closer to one of the statues. The warrior looked human, but powerful, almost godlike. They built the first superhuman civilization, the commander said quietly. They were stronger than any Ascendant alive today. What happened to them? The commander hesitated, then answered. No one knows. Kael studied the statues. One of them looked strangely familiar. Not the face, but the symbol carved into its chest. A spiral, the same symbol from his vision. Kael's hand moved slowly toward it. The moment his fingers touched the stone, the room exploded with light. Every terminal activated at once. Ancient files opened automatically. Alarms began sounding again. Technicians shouted from across the room. What just happened? Kael stumbled back. The spiral symbol on the statue glowed faintly. Then a holographic message appeared above it. An ancient figure formed from blue light. The hologram looked directly at Kael and spoke. "If you are seeing this, then the Ascendants have returned." Kael felt his heart pounding. "What does that mean?" The hologram continued. "Our enemies will come, and they will not stop." The commander stepped forward. "What enemies?" The hologram slowly turned its head. "The ones who destroyed us." Suddenly, every screen in the room flickered violently. The commander turned toward the technicians. "What is happening?" One of them stared at the monitors in horror. "Sir, we're detecting multiple energy signatures approaching the facility. Fast!" The commander grabbed his radio. "All units prepare for combat." Kael felt the power inside him surge again. Something was coming, something powerful, and somehow, he knew it was looking for him. End of Part 3. The Last Ascendant Part 4. The first hunt. The first explosion shook the entire facility. Dust fell from the ceiling. Emergency lights flashed red. Kael turned toward the commander. "What was that?" The commander was already grabbing a weapon. "Your first hunt." More explosions echoed above them. Gunfire followed. Screams. Someone burst into the archive room, a soldier, bleeding. "They're inside." "Who?" the commander demanded. The soldier struggled to speak. "Ascendants." Kael felt a cold wave move through his chest. The commander cursed quietly. "So it begins." Another explosion tore through the hallway outside. The steel door bent inward. Something powerful struck it again. Then again. Then the door ripped open. A man walked through the smoke, tall, armored. His eyes glowed with pale blue energy. He lifted one hand. The soldiers guarding the archive slammed into the wall instantly. Kael stared. "Who is that?" The commander whispered. "A hunter." The glowing man studied Kael carefully. "There you are." Kael stepped back. "Do I know you?" The hunter smiled faintly. "No, but we know you." He raised his hand again. The entire room trembled. Kael felt pressure building in the air. Then instinct took over. His hand lifted. The pressure shattered. The hunter paused, interested. "So it's true. You are one of them." Kael shook his head. "I don't know what you're talking about." The hunter's eyes glowed brighter. "You will." He lunged forward with impossible speed. Before he could reach Kael, a shockwave blasted through the room. Lyra stood in the doorway, her hands glowing with kinetic energy. She smirked. "Miss me?" Kael blinked. "You survived?" She grinned. "Barely." The hunter studied her. "A secondary ascendant." Lyra cracked her knuckles. "That sounds impressive." The hunter smiled. "It will not save you." He attacked. The battle erupted instantly. Energy blasts, shattered walls. Kael felt his power building again, stronger than before, and something deep inside him whispered one word: awaken. End of Part 4. The Last Ascendant Part 5. The Lost City. The battle destroyed half the archive, but Kael and Lyra escaped. The commander guided them through emergency tunnels beneath the facility. They ran for nearly 20 minutes. Finally, they reached an old transport elevator. The commander activated it. The platform descended deep underground, far deeper than Kael expected. Lyra leaned against the railing. "So what's the plan?" The commander looked at Kael. "We find the truth." The elevator doors opened. Kael stepped out slowly. Before them stretched something impossible. A massive underground city, ancient towers, stone bridges, structures older than the modern world. Kael whispered, "What is this place?" The commander answered quietly, "The First Ascendant capital." Kael walked forward slowly. Every building carried the spiral symbol. the same symbol burning faintly on his chest. Lyra looked around in awe. This place has been here the whole time? The commander nodded. Hidden. Kael suddenly felt something pulling him, a strange force guiding his steps. He followed it through the ruins. Eventually, he reached a massive central structure, a temple, the spiral symbol carved across its doors. As Kael approached, the doors opened on their own. Inside waited a massive chamber. At its center stood a pedestal, and on that pedestal, a glowing relic. The moment Kael touched it, the symbol on his chest erupted with light. Ancient energy flooded through him, and the voice returned. The same voice from his vision. The Ascendant voice. Your power has only begun. End of Part 5. The Last Ascendant Part 6. The Ancient Enemy. The relic awakened something deep inside Kael. Memories. Not his memories. Ancient memories. Visions of war. Ascendants battling creatures made of shadow. Cities burning. Stars collapsing. Kael staggered. Lyra grabbed his arm. What are you seeing? Kael struggled to breathe. The war. The First Ascendant War. The commander looked grim. So the legends were true. Suddenly the relic dimmed. A cold presence filled the chamber. The air turned heavy. Then a voice echoed through the temple. Deep. Ancient. Familiar. We meet again. The shadow figure from Kael's vision formed in the darkness. Lyra stepped back. What is that thing? Kael stared at it. Our enemy. The shadow laughed. You remember. Kael clenched his fists. What do you want? The shadow figure smiled. You. It spread its arms wide. The Last Ascendant. End of Part 6. The Last Ascendant Part 7. The war returns. The Shadow Army arrived within minutes. Dark creatures poured into the ancient city. The commander rallied the remaining soldiers. Lyra stood beside Kael. You ready for this? Kael felt the relic power surging through him. I think I was born for it. The battle exploded across the ruined city. Ascendant powers clashed against shadow monsters. Buildings collapsed. Energy storms ripped across the sky. Kael fought at the center of it all. Every second his power grew stronger, until finally the shadow leader appeared again. You cannot win, it said. Kael stepped forward. We'll see. He raised his hand. The spiral symbol ignited like a star. The true ascendant power awakened. Time itself bent around him. The shadow leader froze. For the first time, it looked afraid. End of Part 7. The Last Ascendant Part 8. The Last Ascendant. The final battle shook the entire underground city. Kael stood at the center of a storm of energy. The shadow leader attacked with overwhelming force. But Kael was no longer the same boy. The ascendant power had fully awakened. Every movement bent reality itself. The shadow leader struck again. Kael caught the attack effortlessly. This ends now. He unleashed the full power of the spiral. A wave of pure energy tore through the battlefield. The shadow army dissolved instantly. The leader screamed as its form collapsed into darkness. Then silence returned. The war was over. Kael fell to one knee. The power slowly faded. Lyra rushed over. You did it. Kael looked at the glowing ruins around them. No. He stood slowly. This is just the beginning. The commander approached. What happens now? Kael looked toward the horizon of the ancient city. The ascendants return. And the world will never be the same. End of Part 8. End of The Last Ascendant.